guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Nia TV and here is my March reads and monthly TBR video. Before I get started, don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Guys, it feels like it's only been a couple of weeks since I did a video like this, and that's because for me, filming wise, it has been a couple of weeks. I filmed my last one like on the 18th of March, and then I only finished like 2 books since then. But I really want to make sure to get these videos out back to back. But I still am really excited to talk about everything that I finished in the month of March. But before I get started, just in case you're new here, I just want to explain how my TBR works. Basically, I count each individual book of the Bible that I read as its own separate book. So some people may say that that doesn't count, but I feel like it does because it does take me quite a while to finish some of the books in the Bible. And even though they all have the central theme of God, like it's kind of different topics. So it's its own book in my opinion. And I think that you guys should do that as well. In my last video, somebody commented that they're actually gonna start doing that. So I'm like, yes, I'm an influencer who's actually influencing people. This month, I read 7 books in total, and 4 of those were actually from the Bible. Another thing that I want to say about my TBR is that whenever I finish the book is what month the book counts for. So I recently just finished a book last night, but I'm counting that for my April TBR, even though I've technically been reading it since like February. Now that we have that out of the way, let's get started with everything that I read in the month of March. So the first book that I want to talk about that I read is The Distance Between Us by Ariana Grande. If you watched the last TBR and another one of my current favorites videos, you would know that I started this actually for school. But I did happen to really enjoy this book. Basically, we're doing a unit on education, and our teacher had us like pick independent reading books that had to do with education. This was on the list, but like the title just really like caught my eye. This is Ariana Grande's memoir, basically of her time growing up in Mexico and how when she came to California, that's when her life really changed. Especially in terms of access to education. This book was so good. It's really interesting to learn about somebody that I know nothing about. Like, I've never heard about Ariana Grande until this book, and I really did enjoy seeing a little part of her life, even though a lot of it was really tragic. And I found myself while I was reading this book, I was getting so upset with some of the adults in her life because this poor child, she had to put up with so much and at such a young age, and same thing with her siblings, and constantly being torn apart by your family. Her dad left them to go to the United States originally because he wanted to build a house for them there so that they could all move there and have a better life. He didn't come back for years, and his wife followed because she was worried that he was going to find another family when he came to the United States. And he did, so, you know, but their relationship was rocky, and then that entire thing combined with like abandoning their children and their whole experience with their grandparents and just some of the stuff that they faced there, it was horrible. But like this book was really good and really touching. And even though you may not know anything about Ariana Grande or may not have read any of her other works, I highly do recommend this book. And I definitely see myself checking out some of her other works in the future, especially because she was really inspired by authors that I've read, like Sandra Cisneros. I read her book, The House on Mango Street, in freshman year, and it was really interesting. It's actually something that I would probably give a reread sometime in the future. So stay tuned for that in case I do. I also want to implement a ranking system into these videos. I've only done one TBR video because I just recently started implementing more book content into my YouTube channel because I obviously love to talk books. I'm such like a nerd at heart, and I love to talk about things that I'm passionate about, but I have no one to tell. Like, a lot of guys, this is kind of my problem. Like, I have friends who are interested in the stuff that I'm interested in, but I also am interested in a lot of things. So I have a lot of friends who don't. So I literally feel like that one meme. Like, I just talk to the wall all day. Why not just bring it to the YouTube channel and make some good content and see if I can connect with any strangers out there? You know what I mean? Since I'm new to this, I need to remember to rank these books. I I would honestly give this like a 4-star. I don't want to give out 5 stars too leniently because I feel like I'm the type of person who, if I like something, I love it completely, and I need to be a little bit more critical with that and stuff. And you know, obviously a 4-star is nowhere near a bad ranking, and I don't even think a 3-star is a bad ranking, but I would give this a 4-star. Definitely go give this a read, even if you're not interested in like nonfiction and stuff. So read it. The next book I read this month was The Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. If you've also been keeping up with my vlogs, you know I have been obsessed with this book recently, and I read it back in 2022 and I couldn't remember anything from this series, and I am so glad that I reread this with a fresh set of eyes. And it's just like a whole new experience reading it as like a senior in high school compared to like a freshman. So it's kind of weird in that way, but I like it. And this was a super popular BookTok book back like when BookTok first started. So if you've been looking to check out like a new fantasy / dystopian series that deals with a lot of politics, I would highly recommend this. Do not read Powerless. Oh my god, oh my god. Cut it, cut it, cut it, cut it, cut it, cut it. I didn't read that. I need to stop judging things that I don't know, but I also do need to hold some space for Victoria Aveyard because I think that she's a phenomenal author, and I had been following her since the first time I read this series, and I just really appreciate all the stuff that she has to say. But now that I've got that over with, let me get into what this book is about. So basically, the world that this book takes place in, there are 2 types of blood: red and silver. And those with silver blood have magical powers, the ability to control water, fire, earth, like stuff like that, okay? There's a hierarchy. People with red blood are poor. They face a lot of discrimination. A lot of them end up getting conscripted to the army to fight a silver battle that's been going on for years at the age of 18 if they can't find a job, and there aren't a lot of jobs available for them. And our main character, Mare, she has red blood, and she was a thief. She was just about to accept her fate, living in the slums, and like just go to the army just like her 3 older brothers, until fate leads her down a completely different path. She finds herself working as a servant for the Silvers, and she discovers that she has powers just like silver people, except she's red. Like I said, this book has a lot to do with politics. There's a little bit of romance in there, but this book was so good, and I highly recommend that you guys check this out. I will say there's not as much romance in this as I remembered when I was in like 8th or 9th grade or something, but that's honestly not a bad thing for me. It doesn't feel overwhelming at all. I will say that in my mind back then when I read this, there was a lot more buildup for the romance, and now reading it, I'm just like, you know, like, did it even need romance? I mean, for the fun, happy stuff that everyone looks forward to, yes, because this book can get depressing without something like that. But you know, her and her love interest met about like 4 times. I kid you not, it had to be like 4 times before she was like, oh, I low-key have a crush on him. It was even less with the other one. So don't even get me started, but pick this book up. I would probably rank this, I want to say this is also a 4-star. Really well written, and also I want to say this is your sign to reread any book that you read in the past, because it's so interesting to read it with a fresh pair of eyes, and it's so fun to see if the book is really well written, like all the foreshadowing towards things that happen in the future, and you learn so many different things about the worlds that the characters are living in and the characters themselves, and you just grow a whole new appreciation for it, and it'll change your mind about some stuff. So definitely go do that and go check out The Red Queen. The next book I read was Heaven by Meiko Kawakami. Like I have been saying in this video, my channel is like mostly lifestyle stuff, so obviously you're gonna know what I'm reading or if I plan to read something because I do talk about it. But I've been talking about this book since January. which is honestly really bad because it's only like 147 pages. I think my main problem is that I didn't have a physical copy of this book, but that didn't stop the story from being as impactful as it was, and I highly recommend that you guys read it even though it's a short read. Basically, the book follows this one character, and guys, I'm kind of stupid. I didn't realize until literally yesterday that he didn't have a name. Like, they just call him Eyes in the book, and I'll get to that in a second, but like he's just the protagonist, so I didn't know that he was nameless. This kid who we're gonna call Eyes, and he's nicknamed that by his bullies because he has a lazy eye. This also takes place in Japan in I think like the 90s. One day he starts exchanging letters with this one girl from another class. Her name is Kojima, and they become friends because they're both bullied. Kojima is bullied mainly because she's really dirty and unkempt looking, and they both face really harsh experiences at school, and it's honestly so disheartening to read. It was a hard read, especially like the chapters that I read last night, because I literally finished this book last night, but the story was so beautiful and so tragic. It's like definitely the type of book that will have you thinking for a while. But anyways, back to me explaining the plot. I always get sidetracked. And Kojima tries to teach him maybe all of this bullying and harassment and these hardships that we face, maybe all of this has a meaning, and there's a meaning in suffering, which I think in and of itself is a really interesting message, which is what I heard promoted to me before I started this book and kind of while I was reading this book, up until I got to some parts last night when he was speaking to one of his bullies named Momose. His bully was kind of the opposite of what Kojima believed. He was like, actually, nothing has meaning. This doesn't mean anything. I can do whatever I want to you. I can keep bullying you even if you don't want it. And if you don't want it to happen, stop it. That type of thinking rage baited me. I was ready to punch the screen, and I was getting so mad on this kid's behalf, especially because of literally all the abuse he faced from his classmates. It was so bad. Like, I literally like was shedding tears at some of the stuff that was happening, because I'm like, oh my God, like I can't even imagine like what type of bullying is going on like in the world. Like what the heck? Like, oh my gosh. I don't think I've been bullied, but if I have been bullied, it hasn't been physical, and I'm just like, what the heck? And what is wrong with this kid's like mentality? And like it just puts our main character in such a bad mental state. And this is kind of like spoilery, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Towards the end of the book, he realizes while both of their philosophies try to explain why I'm here, why what's happening is happening, they're both flawed, and suffering is suffering. And there were some parts of the book that I don't think I really understood, and I would give it a reread, deep dive on Reddit, deep dive on Goodreads, and really just take some time to think about it for myself. There were some parts that I just found odd, and that I was like, what is the literary significance of this? And it was like unsettling, but wow, it's just a book that will just have you thinking about a lot of different things, especially their philosophies. But I will say things kind of end not happily, but more so bittersweet in the end, and I think that's what made me satisfied with the way this book ended. It's such a short read, and I honestly think that you guys should check it out. I would give it another 4 stars. And yeah, it was really good. Now that I've done 20 minutes of yapping, let's move on to everything that I'm reading in the month of April. The first book that I'm reading in April is the second book of the Red Queen series. So I actually left my copy downstairs, and I really don't feel like running downstairs to get it, but it's called Glass Sword. I'm actually like 44% through the book, and guys, let me just tell you, the books in the series just get thicker and thicker and thicker, and I'm just like, there's so much that I'm remembering mid-book or forgetting about the book that I'm like, wow, like I'm in for a ride, clearly. But it's really good so far. There's not much that I can say about the book yet because, like I said, I'm not that far into it, but also it all comes together in a bigger story. So please go check out the entire series, and I'll probably spend majority of my month reading that series because of how thick the books are and because of how busy I am this month. But it's really good so far, and it's just kind of exploring some of the same topics and fleshing out the world building and fleshing out the rest of the story. I'm really excited to start remembering what happened. I already remembered some things that are like major plot points, and I'm excited to see them in more context with fresh eyes. The next book that I'm reading this month is Sula by Toni Morrison. I talk about this book a lot because it was one of my favorites, and I actually read this book at this time last year for my African American literature on film class that I took. Ugh, don't even get me started on that class. I miss that class so much actually, and if I could be in that right now, I absolutely would. But Sula is basically the story of two best friends, and there's a lot of betrayal, and it explores themes of love, friendship, tragedy, betrayal. Like it's so good. Toni Morrison is a genius, and obviously this is a short read. This is probably something that I could also read in a day, and I'm really excited to just pick this back up and see what I think now. I wasn't planning on rereading this so soon, but you know, I was just really interested to hop back into the world of Toni Morrison. The last book that I'm reading this month is The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. So I said that I was gonna read this for February. Didn't have a lot of time in February, but like I said, I do want to hop back into the world of Toni Morrison. This is also a short read. This is also a really popular title, so I'm sure that there are a lot of other people talking about it. Like I said, this video is unscripted, so I'm just going based off memory. Basically, this book deals with a lot of themes of like beauty standards, racism, colorism. The protagonist, she's a black girl and she really wants blue eyes, and she just prays for beauty. And all Toni Morrison books are tragic and dramatic, and I'm really excited to get into a black classic. And then aside from the rest of the books in the Bible, that is all I'm reading this month. I know, guys, I have a busy month ahead of me. I always say this, and I feel like my vlogs don't actually do justice how much I have to do, and that's because I don't like to film myself when I'm in high states of stress or high states of emotion, because I have to focus. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends, and I really hope that you guys found something that you're interested in picking up this month, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!